Welcome to the only place where real, raw, and vulnerable conversations happen with IFBB Bikini Pros to give you an inside look at their struggles, strategies, mindset, passions, and all of life beyond the stage. This podcast is made to inspire, motivate, and remind competitors and the average gym goer that even the most extreme lifestyles and elite athletes have their ups and downs. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I'm your host, Celeste Rains-Turk, and now it's time for the Confessions of a Bikini Pro podcast. Today, we are speaking with a mother, Navy veteran, business owner, stylist, and accountability coach who has been competing since 2022 and won her pro card in 2023 at the Masters Collegiate in Pittsburgh after 2 previous attempts at earning her pro card. She has since gone on to place 3rd at the Charlotte Pro Masters show. I was there. I got to see that. And placed top 10 at the Wasatch Warriors Masters Pro Show. Welcome to the show, Jennifer LAU. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the opportunity to be here. I was so excited when I got your message, and I've been listening to you for so long, and it was just such an amazing message, and thank you for this.
You're welcome. It's my pleasure. And for those of you guys listening, we're doing an audio only episode, and we were chatting a little bit before the episode started about how this is a really cool full circle moment. And I'm just grateful when this type of stuff happens, Jennifer, when I get to talk to people who have listened for so long, because it's like, it's just a great moment to be like, wow, you made it here, you know?
I know, it's pretty crazy. I love the fact that you got me through so many sessions of cardio before I even started competing, because I just wanted to learn and hear about everyone else's stories and their journeys. And now I'm on here and I'm like so nervous, but I'm excited to get to share my journey.
Yes. And think about all the people doing cardio right now who are probably like, yeah, maybe that'll be me one day too.
Hey, it probably will be.
I love that. Well, before we jump into everything I've got planned, because I've got a few different things that I want to dive into, some of that being what your life was like before competing. Is there anything you do or think about, or maybe a ritual you have right before your heel hits the stage?
I love this question because I do the same thing that I do for every show. A couple of things. One of the things I used to do the night before a show is write myself a letter. And I just write down everything I went through that prep. And I remind myself about how deserving I am to be and to be able to get to do this. And I read it right before I pump up, and I read it like 3 times, and it just like puts me in a great headspace. It preps me before every show, and I love it because it just I hype myself up. And I also, so my 6 amateur shows.
Yeah.
Another ritual was I would take some shots before I got on stage. And because I was so nervous, I had severe stage fright. And that was actually one of the reasons why I wanted to start competing, is I just wanted to get out of my comfort zone and really challenge myself and see if I could do something like this. And then when it got down to it, I got scared. I thought I had to drink alcohol before I got on stage, and I would do it right before I got on stage just to give me that liquid courage. And I did that for 6 shows.
Wow.
And then this year when I did my 2 pro shows, I decided, you know what, maybe I need to do things a little different, and so I didn't drink the last 2 shows. And I've never felt more in control, more in my element, and just more present these last 2 pro shows. And I believe that it's because I didn't drink alcohol before I got on stage. So I love that question because I'm like finally comfortable to share that.
Thank you for sharing that. I'm so glad you did. And especially from that perspective of initially the alcohol was used to mute or tone down the stage fright or distract from it. But then your evolution as a competitor and as a person, as an athlete, led you to realize, okay, especially it sounds like for your pro shows, you wanted to be more in it, maybe experiencing it and fully embodying it. So what was
Yes.
different? Yeah,
It
what was
was
different about that?
a completely different experience. I don't want to say sober because I wasn't like drunk, right? When I went on
Right.
stage the last 6 times. I don't want people to think that I was wasted, but I mean, I was buzzed and
Right.
um, I wasn't 100%, you know, and the, the minute would go by so fast and I would, I wouldn't feel it, right? I wasn't feeling it. And then the last two shows when I went in and I just got on stage, I took my time. I got to take in every step, you know, and I look at my videos and I'm just so proud of myself. And I think that's the most rewarding feeling is like I didn't need those shots before getting on stage, but I thought I did because I was so terrified and I was so scared. And I don't know if it was becoming a pro that gave me that confidence or, you know, having these conversations um, in my relationship where he was the one that actually said, why don't you try not drinking this time?
Mm.
You know, and I said, you know what? You're right. I'm going to try it. And I did. And it was the best decision I ever did. And I'll never drink alcohol before I get on stage again.
I love that so much. And honestly, I think it's awesome that you took that encouragement and you went for it because we can often think like something that we've always done and that's always helped is then therefore helpful. However, we forget that sometimes those coping mechanisms or tools that we use, they might appear helpful because of the impact that they're having, but over time we kind of might come to terms with there's other healthier methods to have an experience that we actually deserve to have versus the one that we're kind of trying to distract from, really. Like you couldn't fully experience being on stage. And, what's so interesting is hearing you talk about this, I'm thinking about the times I did DUI education groups in the counseling center I worked for.
Mm-hmm.
Alcohol can get to your brain in a matter of 5 minutes, and it can start
Yeah.
to affect you in 10 minutes. A lot of people think that it will take a lot to like start feeling it. And some people don't even realize that their blood alcohol levels are elevated. And so they feel that they can make decisions that impact them long term. Getting a DUI, that's an extreme version. That's not what we're talking about here. But just for the sake of the conversation, it's important to understand and know one drink of alcohol affects you. So
Mm-hmm.
you experience that, and it was a positive experience at first. But then now that you don't have it, it's even more positive. And you've proven to yourself you can go up there without it, which brings me to your earlier point of you had stage fright before, and part of getting into competing was to face that. That is very courageous. Not a lot of people will see their fears and go, I'd like to create an opportunity to overcome this. They'll just say, well, I don't get on stage because I have stage fright. So, what was really motivating that desire to overcome that fear?
You know, um, this was supposed to be one of the things is this was supposed to be a one-time bucket list. Like, I'm just gonna do this. And actually it was started with lifestyle fitness, and I started my business and I wanted to get in shape, get in the best shape of my life before I turned 40. That one show turned into 6 shows, and then it turned into 8 shows, and then it turned into going pro in less than a year. And it was just, my life has changed so much in the last year. I mean, next week will be my 1 year anniversary from getting my pro card. And I'm living a completely different life, and this sport and community has been so amazing. And I'm so glad I faced those challenges and just kept going.
Definitely. And it sounds like that your life has completely changed in a matter of a year, let alone even prior to going pro. So help us understand what life looked like before you decided to commit to the lifestyle changes and then how that evolved with you when you started competing.
So, you know, before I started competing and before I started my first prep, um, my life was pretty, I don't want to say, normal, but I mean, I owned my business. I was at work, 9, 10 hours a day. I was a soccer mom. So I was taking my kid to soccer 4 days a week, soccer games on the weekends. And that was my life. My son is 18 years old now. And I really just didn't focus on anything but business and my son. And after he started driving and I started wanting to focus on my fitness goals, um, and then I met an amazing coach, amazing gym, just a beautiful community of people. Um, they changed my life. I mean, I really do believe that the people you surround yourself with are so important. And my 3 days a week of training turned into 4, and then I got this idea, from my coach, and she's like, "You should compete. You should try it." And I would see these girls at the gym in their suits and their posing suits, and I'd say, "I could never do that." And then one day, she just said, "You should compete," and I said, "Okay, let's do it." So we talked about a plan. I was on a 20-week prep. I had lost almost 30 pounds, and I did my first show. I did pretty well. And they're like, "You got to keep going." My second show was a national show. I got first place, but I didn't win the overall. So no pro card on the second show. And I didn't expect it. I didn't even know what a pro card was.
Yeah.
I still didn't even know what a pro card was when I got it, to be honest. I didn't know like how it would transform my life. And, you know, um, I think I got my pro card, my sixth show. And I mean, my life was already transforming. Through the community, friends, sponsorships. In the last year, I've been able to open 2 other businesses.
Wow.
I've got three other jobs outside of my hair salon and working behind the chair doing hair. Just all these different opportunities because of the bodybuilding community, or because of all of these. I want to say all the competitions, but truly, it's just, I think it's the community and the people that you surround yourself and the confidence that you gain through prepping and through the shows that you do, and believing in yourself. And I think it was always in there, but there's something about just being around the right circle and having positive influences in your life that make you truly see who you are.
Ooh, I want to have you expand on that right there, to truly see who you are. What did it reveal about yourself?
For me, I was, so I was in the military, but I joined the military when I was 18.
Yeah.
And, I knew I could work hard. I was in martial arts my whole life. So discipline has always been there. And then I had a kid pretty young. And then that was my focus for so long. And then for, 16 years till my son started driving. And then I just lost my train of thought.
How it revealed you to yourself through competing. You always knew you were disciplined.
Oh, it just showed me that if you want something, if you truly want something, you can get it. You know, if you truly work for it, you can get it. And with the right people in your corner, and with your faith, you can do anything.
100%. I really love that. I think sometimes we can go through things that challenge us, but they're more necessity. So, like necessity through the military and your service, necessity in being a mother and committing to being present as a mother.
Hmm.
That was a necessary discipline, all of those areas. Of course, there's some choice in that too, but majority of it is like, okay, well, I am doing this and therefore I need to do these things. But competing almost puts us in a position where we get to choose to exemplify the strength of discipline, commitment, and personal growth and development. And that requires reflection, humility, faith. So when you commit to competing after having doubted yourself or said you would never do that, even in a post, one of your earlier posts on your Instagram, you had said that you never imagined after being a mom and as a mom doing that. So, how did it change your perspective even on yourself and maybe the limits you previously had on yourself?
I never thought I would do it as a mom. And it's maybe because like I grew up in a very conservative home.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and just seeing on social media these competitors and their show day and not having any idea, never lifting weights, never being in a gym. I would see these competitors and I would just be so like excited to watch them and just I admired them so much, and I was like, could never do that. I could never look like that, and now I see my videos and I'm like, oh my god, I can't believe that's me. I still, it just doesn't even feel real. And sometimes when I wake up in the morning and pass by the mirror, I'm like, oh my gosh.
Wow. Yeah, I think that's a fascinating point too, is we can get so used to seeing ourselves in a certain way that then when we transform, it can take our mind and our eyes some getting used to that or catching up to it. And it's obviously impacted your life for the
It's
better.
so true. I never spent so much time looking in the mirror. And I know, I
Mhm.
don't know if that's a normal thing but I really didn't. I don't want to say that stuff didn't matter, but obviously when you get into bodybuilding, like your sole focus is what you look like and your
Mhm.
physical. And but before bodybuilding, before 2 years ago, like that wasn't. I mean, I would cover up. I didn't even own a two-piece bathing suit. I was the girl with the t-shirt and shorts,
Yeah.
and I just thought like because I was a mom that I had to be covered up, or I wasn't comfortable with my body at all. Wasn't proud of it. I was a fast food eater. I mean, that was my diet 3 times a day for like
Really?
my whole yeah, my whole young adult life. I mean, and it's sad to say, I mean, that my family was always on the go. And
Hmm.
um my son, like, he grew up on fast food.
Yeah.
So it is such a life-changing experience to just I can't even eat that stuff anymore. I mean, I still love my french fries. I can't let that go. But I mean, all that other stuff that I used to eat, I just can't.
It's interesting too how we don't know how bad we feel doing something until we stop doing it sometimes.
Yeah, agree.
It's kind of like get introduced to a healthy lifestyle and you're learning to nourish your body in a new way and you're like, "Oh, maybe
Mm-hmm.
this is how I'm supposed to feel. Like maybe I'm not supposed to have these digestive or focus or um lethargy, whatever that word is pronounced as, feelings throughout the
Yeah,
day. Like I'm supposed to be energized and nourished and feeling alive.
for sure. And it's wild. It's wild how food fuels your body, and how food can do the complete opposite and drain you.
And you were saying that your son grew up on fast food. So when you transformed your lifestyle, did it have an impact on his choices as well?
It did not at the beginning. So at
Okay.
first, he would ask me, "Mom, do you want a burger? Do you want some fries? Do you want a hot
Mm-hmm.
dog?" Or uh, McDonald's. I grew up on McDonald's, and um, whenever he'd pick some up, I just tell him, "You better eat that in the car. I don't even want to smell it." And now he's eating my meal preps with me, and he's super conscious about it. So I love that.
That is awesome. I think that that healthy impact is really cool, how a lot of the times the people in proximity to us, they start to take on or be considerate of some of those things, maybe just from witnessing its impact on us or because it's more readily available.
Mm-hmm.
Now, going back to your point about the conservative household you grew up in and motherhood in general, this is something that I think is such it's an interesting topic because there's a lot of women or mothers or people around kids or with kids in their life, let's say, who do think, okay, I have to look and present a certain way in order to be acceptable or this to be approved. And I think some of that comes from external pressures, like how we think someone else will perceive it or perceive us. So, how do you or how did you navigate that kind of transformation mentally from I always have to wear a one piece or always have to wear a shorts and a t-shirt to I can express myself in different ways and it doesn't mean that I'm not conservative or that I'm not or that I'm trying to
Yeah. So
whatever.
I actually faced some challenges, my during my first prep, my first couple shows with personally my family. They didn't understand, why I was doing what I was doing. They didn't understand. They understood like, okay, exercising, um, eating better, but they didn't really understand like, why do you need to get on stage? Why do you need to wear a suit? Why do you need to pose that way? And it was so hard to explain, and I couldn't. I mean, I couldn't truly explain it. And I think after seeing like my commitment and just seeing how well I did, then they started to understand like, oh, this isn't just like a sexual thing, or um, this is an actual sport, And I think that just people aren't aware. They don't know. Um, and as far as like now wearing a two-piece bikini and being so comfortable, I think it was my own thing, and just stuff that I wasn't comfortable with, because I had a child. And um, I'm I'm so glad that I've changed that way
How
of
how is
thinking.
how has that helped you? Like what makes you glad about that?
um, I just feel more confident, in myself, and I feel good,
Mm.
and it's not so much, oh, this is the way I look. I think I feel better because I know the amount of work that it took for me to get here, you know,
Yeah.
and I'm so proud of myself. I'm proud of myself every single day, and I'm grateful to be able to get to go to the gym and to get to make the choices in my food. Not a lot of people get to do that, So
Yeah,
just
that's
being just being grateful, and remembering like my whys, and um, I think it plays a lot in my everyday is just waking up with gratitude.
that's really, really awesome. You know, I love the gratitude piece so much because when you get really immersed in this lifestyle, you can almost forget that it's not a lot of people's norm or accessible to a lot of people or even something many can consider from a financial perspective alone,
You're
just
right. You're right.
commit.
And when we talked about how my life has changed in a year,
Mhm.
and um, when we talk about financials, it's like
Yeah.
I never thought I would get sponsored by a meal prep company,
Mm.
and that has helped tremendously. Right, was being able to do this lifestyle, because not a lot of people can, and I didn't have this before, and I knew how hard it was to
Yeah.
grocery shop every 3 weeks or 3 days, and to meal prep every 3 days. And so blessed to have a sponsorship with a meal prep company. And that's something that I would advise, other competitors or trainers or anyone that's looking into to getting some help, is to get a sponsorship.
How did you do that?
It's so crazy because I used to buy these meals from this company down the street. It's called Light Bite, and they helped me through my prep. And I remember just asking the owner for like a sponsorship for, I think it took quite a while, maybe like my first year actually. And my following wasn't big. And he was busy. And I just remember him saying, "Oh, let's touch base like in a few months." And then I reached out again. I didn't stop.
No.
I go every week, pick up my meals. And then I think one day I sent him another email. It was right after I got my pro card.
Oh.
And I said, "Hey," I said, "I know I still don't have a big following, but I just became an IFBB pro." And then we had a meeting. And yeah, I got sponsored. And this past year, they've been sponsoring my food. And it's been so amazing.
Wow. I love that. I think the key there is support
Mm-hmm.
and then follow up.
Yes, because I mean, I would never even ask, right? But I
Mhm.
also learned through this process that closed mouths don't get fed, and like if you don't ask,
Love that.
you'll never know. If you don't try, you, you'll never know, right?
Yes. I remember at a very young age, I was afraid to ask questions of people, like things that I needed, especially.
Mm-hmm.
And someone said to me, if you don't ask, the answer is always no.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's a good point. And that stuck with me for a very long time where, okay, the worst thing that could happen by asking is you will be told no. But if you don't ask, you will literally never know what the answer could be.
Yeah. So true.
So I love that you asked for it and you didn't hold yourself back from that and you showed for yourself too. I mean, you were supportive of the company and then you also made a case for yourself. And I think that's a great example of how much bodybuilding can also impact us. Like, and you had mentioned earlier, business opportunities. I mean, you have so many passions that you pursue and work that you do. And I mean, that's from the accountability coaching and someone's health journey to the hairstyling and the work with tan masters and with all of that. And then, of course, you're still in the military, correct? Is that
No,
correct?
no, no.
No.
So I'm not in the
Okay.
military anymore. But
Okay.
I own my business. I still work behind the chair. I have an accountability business,
Uh-huh.
and I'm working on at the shows for Tan Masters doing hair as well backstage. And
Nice.
um, I'm thinking what else, but I
Well,
think
that's a
that's
lot already.
yeah, yeah. I think
Yeah.
that's
So let's talk about what a normal day looks like for you, especially given you have an adult son now too. So when you
mm-hmm.
started competing or pre-competing, I should say, you were a soccer mom and you were running your business and you were working for 9 to 10 hours a day. Now you have all of these other passions and things that you're pursuing. A lot of those that work also sounds like majority of it's on your schedule, maybe with the exception of the competitions and the
Yeah.
shows where you're probably up at 3 a.m. when you wouldn't necessarily want to be. But walk us through what a normal day looks like for you.
Okay. So normally, um, the night before, I always like to set my intentions for the next day and my priority list. And normally it's half the week I'm in the salon, and the other half, depending on if there's a show or not, I am at these shows doing hair backstage. But I still love being behind the chair and running my salon. I have about eight. There's 8 renters at my
Wow.
salon, and all of them are pretty amazing. And these stylists, I mean, they're so supportive. And when I'm not in the salon, they take care of everything. So I love them. and I love my team. And half the week I'm in my gym, and the other half I'm in San Diego trying out other gyms. And um, I've never really been able to kind of, I don't want to say take a step back, because although I have more jobs now, I actually feel more flexible and have more freedom um, with my schedule and being able to do the things that I love to do. And all of the stuff that I do, although it's work, it doesn't feel like work.
Mm-hmm.
I never feel like I'm working. I love what I do. I love my clients, and my purpose is to serve. And um, I love serving people and being part of their journeys. And whether I'm styling their hair on show day, and if I have to wake up at 4 a.m., like, I have no problem doing it. It's amazing. I get to be part of their journey, you know? So,
That's so awesome.
yeah.
I love that you love what you do. I think that's such a special and amazing place to be where you can say that and you're so passionate about it, but you're also successful. Running your own salon is a big deal, and to have such great artist there with you is also incredible. So clearly, we can tell you're very grateful, you're passionate, and you also have your accountability business. So I want to talk a little bit about accountability. I think that could be helpful to our listeners. And then we'll kind of go back through hairstyle and competition hair, because there's some things I want to get into with that. But you work as a coach offering accountability and support on someone's health journey, I believe, from what I read on your website. So what are some of the things you see people struggle with the most when it comes to being accountable? And what are some keys someone could implement to increase their accountability?
Okay. So just that, like,
Hmm.
people hire a coach or accountability coach to keep them accountable. And I have learned with my clients is they, I don't want to say it's like hand holding, but I'm their partner, you know? So I am holding their hand through their process. And I am making sure that they mean what they say. You
Mm.
know, when they say they want to do these things, okay, well, what are you going to do to get there? How are we going to get there? You know, and I help them figure that out. And um, we're in touch. We're communicating every single day, you know, and I'm making sure that they're checking off the boxes, but not just checking off their boxes, but they're prepared for the next box, you know. So
Mhm.
that is like the biggest challenge is end of the day, I can hold someone's hand, but it's truly in their hands.
Yep.
So that is probably the biggest challenge in the business. I mean, for any coach, right? Is
Of
if you
course.
truly have no control over what your client does.
Hmm.
And you just hope that they're communicating with you. And because all my clients are um, over the phone or online.
Absolutely. Yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
understand that completely. I
Yeah.
totally get that. From a mental health coaching perspective, I mean, something I always remind myself and remember is that the client is responsible for their life and their results, not me, which is true. I mean, I'm responsible for being there for them, upholding ethics, being a good counselor, applying evidence-based practices, all of those things, yes. But whether or not someone does or doesn't do something, well, they have autonomy. And I can try to support them and influence that right and set up things to support them in that and taking the actions that align with what they desire. And like you said, checking those boxes. But at the end of the day, as a helping professional, we do have to relieve that, what sometimes feels like pressure or responsibility in someone's life, and remember, we're there to influence positively and hopefully evoke change, but we cannot actually pick up their hand and move it onto the paper to check the box.
Exactly. Exactly.
Are there certain things that you learned serving in the Navy that you apply with your clients or with yourself?
Definitely. I think discipline is
Mhm.
number one, right? Um, Motivation, right? These are all things that like you learn early in boot camp, basic training, and it's being organized, courage, all these things. Like, I don't want to say like priority, but definitely.
Yeah, no, that actually makes perfect sense.
Yeah,
I think our behaviors, whether we want to admit it or not, often reflect what our priorities are and or where we're not prioritizing what's truly of value to us or what matters to us.
definitely. I decided to get on prep 2 days ago, and
Yeah,
I mean, this is day 3, so
nice.
I'm back on prep, and
Cool.
um, I I don't want to say I'm seasoned, but I feel like I have been learning after each prep, all the things that I want to do differently every time. And this time, you know, prep is my priority, but it's not my first priority, right? So um, this time around, I'm going to prioritize sleep. I'm going to prioritize work, and I'm going to prioritize this show, this prep, but it's going to be not on my number one, you know. So I want to do things a little different this time.
That's actually probably going to be more beneficial to your performance.
Exactly. I realize, like, all my preps, I don't get enough sleep. I am draining myself, with
Mhm.
work and cardio and workouts and relationship and family and all these things. And uh, this time, I mean, before I decided to get on prep, I like to write my pros and cons list. So, like, okay,
Yeah.
this is why I should get back on prep. This is my cons list, and the pros always outweigh the cons, always.
Totally.
And one of the things in my cons list was consumption. Prep is so consuming, right? It we get into, like, prep zone, right? Where nothing, everything is revolved around this prep. And I learned the last 2 preps that no, it's that's not it. Like, it doesn't pay my bills. I'm not. I still have all these other jobs, so this is something that I choose, that I love, that I want to get better at. So I want to keep it a priority, but it's not going to be my number one priority.
Love that. I think that it even speaks to like a sports psychology perspective. We need to have other things that we focus on and that we're passionate about outside of our sport. I think that there's this underlying narrative that, oh, if you're not all in on this, then you're not a champion or you're a failure, you don't have a champion mindset. But really we don't want to get to a place where in order to be a champion every single person and thing in other areas of your life suffer, because is that really winning and is that really sustainable, and it doesn't offer relief from the focus. And what I like about bodybuilding so much is it's a very healthy day-to-day lifestyle, and we can look at the show as like just another Saturday. It's just another Saturday, except this time we're on stage, and that's okay. And it's important that those other areas are managed effectively. And it sounds like throughout your journey, you've learned. Now, you did just make this decision to start prepping. So what went into this choice to go in on it?
So ultimate goal is to go to Masters Olympia, and um,
Nice.
I do feel like I need to add to my resume of shows this year.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I love being on prep. I love the journey, and I love having structure,
Yeah.
and I want to hold myself accountable more than anything, and um, when you talk about, like, being a champion, I think about, yeah, it'd be great. That feeling of being a champion on stage is great. But what's even better is being a champion at life and feeling like a champion in life. And that's where kind of I'm at right now. I'm on top of the world. I feel like I'm doing everything that I love. I have the freedom to 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 pick my schedule, to see the clients that I want to see, and still make my family a priority. And I I just want to share that with people, that you can do it. You can kind of map out your life the way you want it to be.
Absolutely. And I think that going back to what you said, adding more shows to your resume, I want to just touch on something. I was at the Charlotte Pro, and I didn't know every single pro on that stage, obviously. I knew a decent amount from the podcast and stuff, but I hadn't met you, didn't know you. But then when I invited you on here, and then I went to NPC News Online, I was like, oh my gosh, that's the girl. Because what I was thinking was, when I was there, I was like, that red suit looked
Aww.
so good. And I remember I was like so drawn to you in the red suit, and it was like amazing. And, obviously your journey has been indicative of growth and development. And you had won your pro card very quickly, only 1 year after earning it. You said earlier in the episode you didn't even know what a pro card was, really. And I only knew one other pro like that, and that was Holly Larson. But anyways, you had a lot of success at regional shows prior to that, and then you had gotten 8th and 15th at Universe before going on to earn the pro card 21 days later. And I've been dying to know, what did you do in that short amount of time that you feel made the difference and actually won you your pro card and allowed you now the opportunity to compete as a pro?
Oh my gosh. So I love telling this story, actually, because I went to Universe, and I was so defeated after that show, but I thought I looked my absolute best. And I still look at these pictures and I'm like, I love that look the most. But I got second call outs, which is still great because there's 3 call outs. It was still good for my second national show. I just had high hopes, and I was so defeated after my results and so sad. I wanted to quit. And my coaches were like, give me 3 more weeks. And I kept thinking, what can you do in 3 weeks? Like really, what can you truly do in 3 weeks? There's just no way. And they just kept telling me, like, take a day off. Let's take 2 days off. Let and then let's get back together, and I have a plan for you, you know. And I just went with it. I was just like, okay, they want me to do this. I guess I'm doing this. They keep telling me I could do this, so let's just go. And then we went to Masters Collegiate, like, nationals, like in Pittsburgh 3 weeks later. And in between that time, we picked up my cardio. We did a lot of conditioning. Um, I was sprinting like I've never sprinted before. Um, and I had no idea. I mean, my goal at that moment was, let me just get first call outs. That's all I want. I just want to do better than last time. And then when I got top 5, they moved me in the middle, or actually, it was in the middle and they didn't move me at all. And then I was thinking, okay, maybe top 2. I'm good with that. I'm happy with first call outs.
Mm-hmm.
We had no idea. I had no idea till, finals that I got my pro card. And even then, it didn't hit me. Like, it still did. I still feel like I'm a pro. Like, what? And
That's awesome.
I think it truly hit me when I did my first my pro debut
Yeah.
in North Carolina, actually, at
Mm-hmm.
the Charlotte Pro, and I didn't sleep at all the night before that show. I was so nervous,
Uh-huh.
so nervous. But that, like I said, that was the first show that I did, with no substance and no shots before getting on stage. So it was everything. It was definitely my favorite.
That's awesome. What was your
Mm-hmm.
feedback after Charlotte?
My feedback, oh my goodness. So I'm just a Filipino Chinese girl with like thick legs, and I felt like I was the fullest girl on stage, and I felt bigger. I mean, people were thought I was wellness. Some of the pros were like, "Are you wellness?" And
Oh
you
no.
never want to hear those
You
things.
don't want to hear that, no.
And so I just kept looking in the mirror, and I kept telling my coach, "Am I wellness?" You know, and the judges must have liked something about me, because although I was the thickest girl on, I mean, this sounds horrible, but it's just like I did feel like the fat girl on stage, and but I loved my look. I loved it, and I got a lot
Yeah.
of great. My feedback was great. They just wanted me to come in a little more conditioned, and for me, I was actually 10 pounds above my pro card win.
Oh wow, that's a big
So
change. Did you do that intentionally?
that wasn't the plan. That wasn't the goal.
Hmm.
I just couldn't drop my weight. So
Hmm.
I was really nervous, but I'm like, this is a different look. And I liked it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I know what I need to do this prep, but I was over my last 10 pounds. So I went on stage when I got my pro card. It was at 109. And then my first pro show I was at like 120,
How tall are you?
5'1".
Yeah, you got a lot of muscle. I mean, it's clear from the photos, but
I do. I have like 60 pounds of muscle.
yeah, even at your very first show, you had a lot of muscle.
Yeah, it's genetics. It has to be.
I was like, damn. Because when I was going through the NPC website, I'm like, what was she an athlete before? Were you ever an athlete before?
Though I wasn't, I actually never even lifted weights until, I started
Holy
prepping.
moly.
Yeah, I did martial arts, and that's it. But no, I
Okay.
never did any sports. And I think I ran a 5K once, and I'm not a runner. All this cardio stuff is new and killer.
That's so awesome. Well, yeah, I mean, you've transformed so much. And then, with the Wasatch Warrior show, that was only another that was like what, 10, 15 days later or something like that. So,
Hmm.
did you come in tighter for that show or did you guys kind of just like keep it as is?
I did come in a little tighter. Um, I was so much more confident and comfortable for that show. I got a full night's rest.
Oh,
Um,
good.
you know, I didn't place as well as I did my pro debut, but
Yeah.
I just enjoyed myself so much more, and it was a great day. It was a great show.
That's awesome. I want to go back again. You said you felt like the fat girl or the big girl up there. That's so surprising, right? Like we literally are like looking so good and then that thought can come through our head and the comparisons can set in. How do you manage those types of emotions or how did you manage that feeling, especially when people were asking you, are you wellness? Like how did you navigate that so you could bring confidence on stage?
Yeah. Well, it doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good to hear those things, and everyone's going to have their own opinion. Um, but truly, I was the bigger girl on stage. I mean, that I felt it when we were lining up. I'm like, oh, geez, like I need to get back on that treadmill or something. But
Mm,
I think because I love my body and what I
mm,
brought, my package, um, I was fine with it. And then, I'm just gonna bring it better the next time, because like there's no sense in like dwelling. I think I was sad for like a couple, I don't know, I would say minutes, but maybe an hour after the results, and then I was like, okay, I know what to do next time. And it being like, I've only done 2 pro shows, so I got so much more time to get better.
that is so true. I really love that perspective. You can be proud of what you're bringing. And that can make all the difference. And like you said, writing that letter even the night before and rereading it, I think that can go a long way too, reflecting on the journey. So we're more
Yeah,
process
and
oriented.
and people even telling you that, wow, you've done 8 shows. There are
Yeah,
so many people in this world that will never even do one,
true that.
and
Wow.
yeah.
I needed that reminder actually. Thank you for sharing that. It's good.
Yeah.
hadn't thought about it like that, but that's right. Look at us. We've done all these shows. That's a good point. I really like that. Let's
Yeah.
talk about hair. Is there
Okay.
anything that competitors should know before coming to their show day hair appointment or things that you wish they would know?
Um, so what I've run into is, I mean, actually, people are pretty good at coming in with their hair clean. Um, I'm behind the chair in the salon, so if their hair is too long, I do cut their hair backstage, which
Mm-hmm.
has been good, has been great for competitors that if their hair is too long and they can't see their back pose, or their waistline. Um, what else? Hair extensions, I recommend them,
Okay.
especially if your hair is on the finer side or if your hair is not um, at the length where it accentuates your waistline and your glutes. So I think that's it. I mean, I think hair can play a huge part in someone's look.
I can attest to that personally. I started wearing extensions in 2022 season, so my most recent season, and I did that not for length, but for fullness because I feel like my hair is really thin, kind of
Hmm.
flat, and I was noticing the amount of volume in so many competitors and their hair,
Yeah.
and I'm like, is that natural? And I learned that people
No.
use, I'm like, wait, y'all use extensions for fullness too? So and then I did it and I was like, and the extensions just added so much more depth to the overall look.
Yes.
Like it was
So
amazing.
so a couple other things like girls and women that rock short hair. I mean,
Yeah.
that's a whole nother vibe, and I love that look. I mean, I've seen girls with shaved heads,
Mm.
and they rock it, and they look beautiful, and they look flawless. So it just depends on like whatever look you're going for. Um, just rock it, And even the girls that come in with colored hair, um, I'm a color specialist, so I think as long as it complements your skin tone, your suit, you can rock any hair, you know. As far as like hair extensions and long, thick, full hair, I feel like that's just a very common, like everyone has that look. Uh, but the girls that rock the short hair, I mean, that's a whole nother vibe, and I love that vibe.
Yeah, totally agree. I feel like what's gonna make you look your best, compliment you the best, and be confident up there is so important. And
Hmm.
when you have concerns about your hair, to speak with someone who can help you determine like what's gonna look best is great, or
Yeah.
consider that overall look. Like, have you ever, and maybe you don't want to answer this, which is okay if you don't, but have you ever been asked to do something that you felt wasn't best for someone's overall look on stage? And if so, how did you?
Yes. And
Okay. How do you navigate it?
I'm so honest. I'm
Okay.
just so honest because I would want someone to with me before getting on stage. It's a big deal. So whether they
Yeah.
take my advice or not, I always tell them like, hey, if their hair looks frizzy, like someone this weekend, like they did their own hair and I saw them and I was like, hey, your hair looks really frizzy. Can I fix that for you? You know?
Yeah.
Or honestly, I've just been straight up and just said, this doesn't look good. Can I fix
Yeah,
this? And I think that goes a long way, to be honest.
I agree. Well, I would rather know in the back of my mind that somebody said something than like go and then get off stage and either see the photos or be told by a judge like your hair. Like there was a show I did where I was like, "Oh my gosh, we were backstage laying down for like so long. It was such a long time. And we weren't allowed to bring anything into this like area we were waiting. And I remember looking at my stage shots and my hair had like a crease in it. And I was like, no, like, why didn't anybody tell me? Why didn't I check that? And so lessons learned, check your
Yeah.
hair and check your look before you go on stage. But I remember being disappointed. So I would rather be embarrassed for a second, someone telling me, yo, your hair needs a
Yeah.
fix.
And everyone backstage is they're pretty good. Like they're pretty friendly. And I
Mhm.
feel like the community, competitors backstage, like everyone's amazing. Well, I haven't ran into anything crazy, but everyone's been pretty amazing.
Yeah, I learned that day, just ask. Like now I'll ask someone backstage if I don't know anyone backstage, I'll just ask like, does my hair look like it's in place, you know? Is it making a V shape? Are there any loose ends? Like just point
Hmm.
it out and adjust it, and everyone's so kind. I mean, we all want to support each other.
Yeah, and I love when they actually have mirrors right before you like hit the stage.
Ah,
You know, the mirrors that right before you get on the steps and go up, and that's
that's
always really
nice.
helpful.
Yeah, that is helpful. I feel like that lets you kind of, adjust your suit too, because sometimes you'll see something like, oh no, that little bra pad is sticking out a little bit or whatever it
Yeah,
might be.
those suits, oh my goodness. The I still, I do check-ins, and I remember doing a check-in once, and I before I send the videos to my coaches, I look at the
Uh-huh.
videos and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I need to
Look,
redo this video." Like, well, that
yeah.
string that string is not covering all all the goods.
I know this is happening to me too. Like as a way I've noticed, like I'm kind of just like I'll take my check-in photos. I'm like, oh, my suit's like folded right there, and like the white part of the suit is showing, and that bothers me. Or even just pulling it up, like to be in an even position on your back, you know?
Yeah, it's wild. These suits are still like it still blows my mind.
Yeah, I mean they're really like 2 inches of fabric, so it's
Yeah.
gonna be a bit finicky.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, the only other question I had about that, you said people come in with clean hair usually, but that's pretty good. Clean hair to a hairstylist, that mean they washed it the night before? Does that just mean it's not oily? What does that mean?
Yeah, so it's usually they usually wash it before their first. Actually ask that they wash it before their first coat of tan.
Yeah.
That way you're not going to wash it anymore after your first coat. It'll be clean and just really easy to work with.
Love that. Yeah. And I'm glad that you addressed the extensions because that was something that I was curious about as well as short hair. What
Oh,
about
really quick. Another
oh
thing
yeah.
about the hair extensions is if you're going to do them, make sure that they're 100% Remy, like real hair.
Mm,
I've had some competitors come in with clip ins that weren't real, and the iron will just burn through them.
good point. That's a really good suggestion. And also speaking from experience, trying to do extensions yourself when you literally never wear extensions or do any of that kind of stuff, it's so hard. So I learned
Don't
like,
do it.
don't
There's
do it.
professionals there for it.
Hire, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Just get the
Yeah.
hairstylist because the first show I did with extensions, I was so stressed. And obviously, your main concern with extensions is them being seen. I had none of those concerns when I had a professional do it.
Exactly.
So, what about wigs?
Wigs, I've seen wigs on stage. I don't think anyone would really be able to tell. I can tell because I'm a professional, but yeah, if you can rock it, then rock it. If you have to rock it, then obviously you have to rock it. But if you're just choosing to wear like a different hair color for that day, definitely make sure it just complements your skin tone and the look that you're going for. I think people are pretty good for the most part at putting their look together. Everyone looks great.
Yeah, I agree. And I was just curious if wigs were something that the hairstylists do or if they do.
I haven't ran into wigs, so personally.
Okay. So you've shared with us your goal of getting to the Masters Olympia. You're gonna compete again this year. Do you have or do you want to share like what shows you're looking at?
I think I'm gonna do Legions.
Nice.
That one's in Reno, Nevada, like the end of September 8th or September 28th. And I think I'm 10 and a half weeks out.
Oh, nice. That's
Mhm.
awesome. Okay, so then let's get your best advice. What would you say is your best advice for somebody who has never competed before and wants to? And then your best advice for someone on their road to pro?
Okay. Well, I think my advice for both would just be to always write a pros and cons list and a priority list. Um, that, and also finding the right coach for you, right? And surrounding yourself with people that are in the same circuit that you want to be in, right? Or people that you want to learn from. I think that's really important, because you can go either direction, you know. So people and pros and cons lists are probably my biggest advice. I mean, ask yourself like why you want to do this, and once you make a decision to do it, is stay the course. You know.
Yes. And
that's it.
That's awesome. No, I think that's great advice. Is that for both someone who's never competed before and someone on the road to pro?
So on the road to pro, I'd add that although I got my pro card early and I didn't even know what it was, my thing was just enjoy it and just keep going. And even like for me is even when I got, you know, second call outs, you know, you just never know what can happen 3 weeks later. So don't give up.
Yeah, that's really good advice. I love that. You never know what could happen, and you persisted and you didn't give up despite that desire or wanting to and feeling defeated.
And forget about the outside noise and surround yourself with amazing people, and you can't go wrong. Can't go wrong with that. If you have good people in your corner, you're solid.
Yeah, that's such good advice too. Like being mindful of the people in your life and making sure you feel that supported or support or that belief.
100%.
That's awesome. Well, I'm grateful that you shared that advice as well as everything else that you have shared throughout this episode as far as your journey goes and your insights go. How can people follow your journey, especially with you competing in like 10 weeks? So by the time this comes out, I guess that would be like 7, 8 weeks. I don't even know. But it'll be sooner. How can people follow that journey as well as potentially work with you or connect with you?
Sure. I'm mainly on Instagram. So it's jenniferlau.pro on Instagram. And for accountability coaching, it's jenniferlaupro.com. And that's pretty much it. Or if you are a competitor looking to get your hair done with Tan Masters, you can book through Tan Masters and request me for hair for show day. And yeah.
That's awesome. Well, I'm really glad that we got to have you on. I'm grateful for your time, and to everybody listening, we're going to have all that information in the show notes. That's always on celestial.fit/podcast. If you're listening to this episode right when it airs, it'll be at the top of that page. If you're listening in the future, just scroll down to the category section, which is alphabetized, and you'll be able to find Jennifer's episode there. Not just with the links to connect with us, but also a full breakdown of what we covered in the episode through a bulleted list of topics, as well as a summary, something like you'd find on the back of the book, as well as timestamps. So you can go back and listen to your favorite parts of the episode or share it with your friends, your family, let them know what resonated, and get them clued in on this as well, especially teammates. It goes such a long way when you guys share this. So thank you for tuning in and listening and tagging us as you go. It truly means so much to me and, of course, to the athletes who courageously come on here to talk about their journey, their story. And with all that being said, I hope you all have an amazing rest of your day, night, or morning, wherever you are in the world while you're listening to this episode. Just make it awesome.